The drama inside Salt Lake City has reached a point where friendships aren't just cracking, they're shattering. And right in the middle of this emotional avalanche sits Britani Bateman, a friend of the show who somehow manages to be involved in more conflict than half the main cast. Season 6 has barely found its footing, yet Britani is already juggling explosions with Mary Cosby, Meredith Marks, and Whitney Rose. It's chaos, and she's living it in real time. Before we dive deeper, if you're already hooked into this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps this video get in front of more Bravo lovers just like you. Britani's journey on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City was never smooth. Her entrance during Season 5 was met with side eyes, awkward silences, and a wave of cold shoulders that would chill anyone to the bone. She described joining the cast as being hazed into a sorority, but even that doesn't capture the intensity of the shade she walked into. Her up-and-down relationship with Jared Osmond only added fuel to the fire, creating tension that followed her everywhere she went. But through the chaos, Heather Gay stood beside her. When no one else seemed interested in giving Britani a chance, Heather was the one voice offering support. That bond mattered, because the rest of the women weren't impressed with Britani's emotional roller coaster lifestyle. And if the cast's patience was thin before, Season 6 would only stretch it thinner. The season premiere dropped viewers straight into a camping trip that was missing a major piece of the Salt Lake puzzle, Lisa Barlow. Baby Gorgeous wouldn't be caught dead under canvas, so she skipped the trip altogether. But that didn't stop the group from discussing the lawsuits swirling around her. And this is where Britani surprised everyone. Instead of staying neutral, instead of staying quiet, she jumped in front of every bullet, defending Lisa like a ride-or-die best friend who had everything to lose. The premiere aired, the audience watched, Twitter reacted, and Lisa saw all of it. She saw just how hard Britani went for her. Harder than most friends on the cast. Harder than some of the women she's known for years. According to Britani, Lisa reached out immediately after episode 1. A phone call, a text message, a simple thank you. But Britani didn't pick up. She didn't respond. She didn't rush to reconnect. She left Lisa's message hanging in the cold. When Britani later told the Daily Dish what happened, her explanation was brutally honest. She said she felt like Lisa was finally seeing, maybe for the first time, how hard she had defended her. But the acknowledgement came too late. The friendship had already been dented, maybe even broken. Britani said she felt Lisa was like a sister to her, and when someone feels that close, betrayal hits harder than anything else. Being dismissed, being kept at a distance, being undervalued. Those feelings built up until she couldn't ignore them anymore. So when Lisa reached out with gratitude, Britani responded with a single, polite, "You're welcome," and nothing else. That silence said more than any confrontation ever could. And then came the final sting. Lisa allegedly placed Britani on the D list. Not the B list, not the fringe friend list, but the D list. Deep down where people go when they're out of sight and out of mind. A place Britani didn't even know existed until she found herself stuck there with no way out. Season 6 is shaping up to expose fractures none of the women saw coming. Britani isn't just battling the cast, she's battling her own expectations, her loyalty, her hurt, and her sense of belonging. And every episode seems to peel back another layer of tension. As the season unfolds, the cracks in Britani's relationships deepen, and her place among the Salt Lake City cast becomes more unstable than ever. What started as simple disagreements has grown into full-blown divides, especially after her silence toward Lisa's message became impossible to ignore. Silence, in this world, speaks louder than arguments, and everyone in the RHOSLC circle knows it. Word travels fast within this group. It didn't take long before the women started questioning why Britani didn't respond to Lisa's call. Some assumed it was pettiness. Others believed it was intentional distance. But for Britani, it wasn't about dramatics. It was about finally realizing her effort wasn't being matched. Defending Lisa during the camping trip felt like a turning point. Instead, it became another moment where she felt overlooked. Mary Cosby, who already had tension with Britani, saw an opening. She didn't hesitate to throw in comments hinting that Britani was only loyal when it benefited her. Meredith added her own shade. questioning why Britani inserted herself into conversations that weren't hers to begin with. Whitney, who has always been cautious around Britani, simply watched the situation unfold with her usual mix of curiosity and suspicion. The tension didn't stay behind the scenes. It followed the cast into their events, their group activities, and every moment they tried to bond. Even the simplest gatherings became shadowed with side-eye glances and under-the-breath remarks. Everything felt like a test. Who would speak first? Who would confront? Who would pretend nothing was happening? Heather Gay continued to support Britani, but even she felt the shift. She understood the emotional toll Britani had been carrying. She knew Britani wanted to belong, to be part of something bigger than the constant chaos. But she also recognized that the hurt between Britani and Lisa was taking on a life of its own. It wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore. It was becoming a storyline nobody knew how to navigate. Cast trips became even more uncomfortable. Conversations that should have been fun slowly turned into tense exchanges. Britani couldn't escape the feeling that she was being watched, evaluated, graded on every word and every reaction. And Lisa, always composed but always aware, carried a cool distance that spoke volumes. At one point, during a dinner scene, the group brought up loyalty. That one word changed the entire atmosphere. Meredith pointed out that everyone should be held accountable for the way they treat one another. Mary added that loyalty doesn't mean picking sides during a lawsuit conversation. Whitney quietly mentioned that real loyalty shows up outside the cameras, not just during dramatic moments. All eyes immediately shifted to Britani. Her heart raced, but she kept her composure. She didn't reveal the deeper hurt, the broken bond with Lisa, the weeks of feeling undervalued, the moment she realized her loyalty never earned her a place of emotional security. Instead, she simply nodded, giving nothing away. Behind the scenes, though, the emotional weight grew heavier. Every confession felt like a battle. Every interview moment peeled back another layer she wasn't sure she wanted viewers to see. She was living in a world where forgiveness wasn't simple, and friendship wasn't guaranteed. Meanwhile, Lisa remained silent about the situation. That silence only fueled speculation. Was it hurt? Was it indifference? Or was it strategy, choosing not to elevate Britani's concerns because she believed they weren't worth addressing? As all of this simmered beneath the surface, producers started noticing the shift in Britani's energy. What they initially wrote off as emotional stress was evolving into a key storyline. That's the thing about this franchise. Pain becomes story, and story becomes entertainment. And yet, as the pressure built around her, Britani realized she couldn't stay passive. She couldn't keep letting others shape the narrative around her. Something inside her started preparing for a moment. A confrontation, a confession, a turning point that would finally bring everything to the surface. The pressure surrounding Britani only intensified as filming continued. Every event felt like a countdown to the moment she and Lisa would eventually be forced into the same room, with no distractions, no interruptions, and no way to escape the reality of what their friendship had become. The women sensed it too. Even in scenes where the tension wasn't directly addressed, the unspoken energy hung in the air like static. Producers arranged a small gathering at a boutique opening, hoping the environment would be warm enough to soften the mood, but close enough to push the cast toward conversations they'd been avoiding. Heather arrived early with Britani, hoping to provide a buffer. She gently reminded Britani that avoiding conflict wouldn't protect her forever. Britani listened, but the internal knot in her chest only tightened. When Lisa walked through the door, everything shifted. The light chatter around the room dimmed, and the cast subtly positioned themselves to see how the moment would unfold. Lisa offered her signature smile, composed and polished, but she didn't immediately approach Britani. Instead, she chatted with Whitney and Meredith, keeping a safe distance while clearly acknowledging the tension between them. Whitney watched the dynamic carefully. She leaned toward Meredith and whispered something that made Meredith raise an eyebrow. Mary, standing nearby, simply observed with curiosity, almost waiting for a spark to ignite. Everyone knew a confrontation was inevitable, but nobody wanted to be the first to push it. It was Heather who finally nudged Britani forward. She gently encouraged her to talk to Lisa, reminding her that staying silent would only make things worse. Britani took a deep breath, gathering the courage she'd been avoiding for weeks. As she stepped toward Lisa, the entire room seemed to focus on them. Lisa turned when she felt Britani approaching. Her expression was neutral, neither warm nor cold, just unreadable. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Their shared history hung between them like a heavy curtain waiting to be pulled aside. Britani finally broke the silence. She began by acknowledging Lisa's text and message after the premiere. She explained that she didn't respond because she felt hurt, overlooked, and unsure whether her loyalty had meant anything in the first place. The words didn't come out sharp or dramatic. They came out honest, steady, and vulnerable. Lisa listened quietly, her arms crossed but her expression softening. She admitted she didn't realize how much the situation had impacted Britani. She said she reached out because she genuinely appreciated the support, not because she expected anything in return. But she also admitted she felt the silence was intentional, maybe even a message directed at her. The conversation grew deeper as Britani revealed moments she felt dismissed, moments Lisa didn't even remember. For the first time all season, she allowed her guard to drop, showing the emotional truth behind her distance. The more she spoke, the clearer it became that the issue wasn't drama or loyalty. It was about feeling important, valued, and acknowledged. But the turning point came when Lisa gently pushed back. She told Britani that relationships go both ways. She explained that she had her own stresses, her own pressures, her own responsibilities that sometimes pulled her away without meaning harm. She didn't deny Britani's feelings, but she also didn't take full responsibility for the fracture. It wasn't a blowout, it wasn't explosive, but it wasn't resolved either. When the conversation paused, the cast watched with anticipation. Heather hoped for a hug. Whitney expected a meltdown. Mary anticipated the drama to escalate. Meredith prepared to step in if things turned icy. But the moment ended in a quiet, simple way. Lisa thanked Britani for sharing her perspective. Britani thanked Lisa for listening. They agreed things were complicated, and then they stepped back, both still unsure of where they stood. The room exhaled, but the tension didn't fully dissolve. If anything, the uncertainty created a new layer of curiosity. The cast wondered whether this was the beginning of healing or the beginning of an even bigger divide. Britani walked away from the conversation unsure about the outcome. She didn't feel closure, but she did feel lighter. Like a weight had been lifted, even if nothing was truly fixed. And for the first time since the season began, Lisa seemed unsettled too. Behind the scenes, producers knew this wasn't the end of their storyline. It was the midpoint, the hinge moment where everything before shifts into something new. Whether it becomes reconciliation, rivalry, or complete emotional unraveling, that's something only the next episodes will reveal.